Hi, welcome to Parenting and Teaching with Richie Huffman. I'm Richie Huffman, President and CEO of Celebrate Preschools. On these podcasts, we'll be talking to real parents, teachers about what's going on at home, in the classroom, and everything in between. I hope you find these conversations informative, helpful, sometimes funny, and sometimes serious. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back. I'm Richie.
And I'm Allie.
And on today's podcast, we'll be discussing balancing motherhood with work. And we have a special guest today. Her name is Lisa Bricker, and she is the Chief Talent Officer here at Celebrate Learning Centers. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what exactly your role is here as the Chief Talent Officer at Celebrate.
Basically, my role here is to ensure that I find out where each individual is looking to get to in their career and provide them with the plans, the resources, the training to get them there.
Okay. So just to give our guest a little taste of the position, like how many people are you responsible for?
We have about 890 team members right now.
Wow. 850.
It's incredible.
Wow. So I see you on a daily basis. So I know what you do. I know what you go through. Just give us a little bit of your profession and what you do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, I'm creating professional development plans for someone who says, I'm currently a teacher. I really want to make that next step in my career to become an assistant director or a manager or a leader, and giving them the opportunities for certain books to read, certain seminars to go to, a platform to kind of get to that next level for them.
That's awesome. And, the reason why I chose you to come on and talk about balancing motherhood with work is because you're just like a mom, right? You're always looking out for others and always doing more for others than you actually do for yourself, right? Whether it's at work or you're at home. And I think that's probably a lot of moms, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, at the end of the day, after you're done pouring it into Celebrate and pouring it into your profession, how do you turn it off when you get home?
It's a challenge. It's something that, because you want to give your all to your work, but then you also realize you have to give 100% and be present at home when you walk through the front door. So how are you walking through that front door? So one way, I make sure that I'm present is the phone goes away. Mm-hmm. The email ding gets turned off. And for those 2 hours really that I have before bedtime, that is time spent with my children. Mm-hmm. And we have routines and habits and rituals that we're in now. I mean, my schedule really demands it, right? So we're running to Girl Scouts. We're running to baseball. So there's really not a whole lot of time for me to interact with those two as far as being work and home. But I really find that if the kids know when we get home and after they're showered and they've had dinner and they've done all their sports, that the last half hour, 45 minutes of our night, the boys refer to it as cuddle time. Yeah. That's our time as a family, that we just sit down on that couch together, and no matter what we're doing, we're there as a family.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they demand that now, so it holds me accountable.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if, you guys know I have 5 children. I mean, mm-hmm. if you didn't have some sort of ritual and routine,
you gotta have it.
It would be a free-for-all. Absolutely. And sometimes I think we get off of that, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it is a free-for-all.
It's so easy, yes, to get off of that, but...
Have you always been that way with your phone then? I don't have kids yet,
no.
So I might not be there, but my email issues when I get home, I just can't do it. Have you been that way since you had them, or is that a new rule of your own?
I have not, and what caused me to become that way was when my daughter said, "Mommy, put down the phone."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, goodbye."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The phone got put down.
Doing it.
And because everything can wait. Now when the kids go to bed, I'll make sure that I didn't miss anything that was extremely important or needed to be handled right away, or if I'm on a deadline, I'll get back on the computer and pull it back up, but that's done after the kids go to bed.
Yeah. What time normally is that?
Typically we start bedtime around 8:45, and by the time they've come out of their room 15 times for a drink of water, they might be asleep by 9:30.
Yeah. Dawn and I kind of have a routine also, but what we really struggle with is at the end of the night, after we're done that routine, it's like, is there the adult time that's also put in there?
Exactly. And that's something that I had to make sure. To be a good parent, you have to be a good spouse, a good partner. They're watching. Yeah. They're watching what kind of relationship you have. So I make sure that that's something that we usually stay up until 10:30 or 11 because we want to have that time together. Yeah. And people say, "Why do you stay up so late?" And it's like, what time do we have to be together? That's our only time.
Right, because the kids are probably going down what time?
Between 9 and 9:30.
Yeah.
So we have about an hour to 2 that is just us.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And how old are your kids now, Lisa?
I have twin boys that are 8, and my daughter just turned 10 this weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
happy late birthday. So they haven't been babies in a while then, but how do you get up for work with this sleep deprivation?
Sleep deprivation is a real thing, and it affects you physically, emotionally. My boys, when they were born, they didn't sleep through the night until they were 15 months old.
Wow.
So, and because there were 2, with my daughter, we would switch nights because we both work full time. So it was I take one night, he takes another. For the twins, it was if you didn't both get up, you didn't get them back to sleep. Mm-hmm. That was it. So I make sure. I know some people like to save time in the morning and like to shower at night. I gotta have that morning shower. It refreshes me. It wakes me up. And
before you wake them up, then
before I wake them up. But also I make sure I don't use the typical alarm. I make sure I set my phone, put on some song, some music that is going to pump me up for my day. And it kind of starts me off on the right track to say, okay, I know I'm tired, but I got to hit the ground running.
What's your go-to song? I know you're a hardcore rapper.
Wait, is that real life?
That's real life.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, she's a hardcore rapper.
That's real life. It's a little too intense for first thing in the morning.
Yeah, what do you have?
I go with something like Best Day of My Life, American Authors, I think is on the way to work when I need some pump. We usually do some DMX, some Tupac, some Biggie.
Nice.
That's more of what I, and now that the kids aren't in the car, I can do that now. The first day that they went to school and got onto the bus, it was like, I can now listen to
your
my
rap.
music again.
All right. I thought
Does your phone play it, or is it coming from like Alexa? Like, are you shouting at Alexa across the room? Or?
So you know what? My phone plays it. My daughter just got an Alexa, and now that was for her birthday present. I want one now.
Yeah.
Because she can just get...
We have the Google Home,
amazing.
which is pretty similar, but my husband just 2 weeks ago had this genius idea to put the Google Home in our bedroom. It wakes us up with music, but you have to shout at it. I swear, it must not work as well as Alexa does, because I wake up to Google, off. It's a disaster.
We're talking about Alexa downstairs, and she hears us from upstairs.
Yeah,
she's
super
on point.
impressive.
That would be a great video, right? You got this mom and her 3 kids rolling down the road, and like they're playing like, I don't know, Barney or something. And like soon as the door's shut, mom cranks up the Tupac and the Biggie, and
I need to make a meme of that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the next post on the Instagram page.
That would be awesome.
True story. That's my life. That's my life.
I wasn't sure if you were like bringing up little rappers too.
No, not quite yet.
No.
Do they know, or is that like
know.
your secret?
Well, for Mother's Day, I did get a shirt for like a workout shirt that says like I run on Tupac and coffee.
Oh, so they know.
So I'm not sure that they know who Tupac is, but
they know it's someone you
like. They know
like.
it's someone I like. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. So, like, I know a lot of moms, I've heard this time and time of moms, and just the overall guilt they have, dropping their children off or at preschool and then having to leave them in the care of somebody else. How do you do that?
Absolutely. So I remember going back 10 years to when my daughter, she was 12 weeks old, and that first time that I dropped her off to Miss Vicky. I still remember the teacher's name. She's still with us here at Celebrate, and how they kind of just took her immediately and loved her right away. So I left there, of course, crying. I was right next door, so I could go back over to see her, but it was sort of like I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have her there with the teachers. So one way that I sort of dealt with that was I asked for pictures. They would send me pictures, and it was one of those situations of who am I to deprive her of this full community full of people that
cool.
would absolutely love her.
Yeah.
Now that was hindsight, because the first week was
you're
just
in it.
the first
You're
week was absolute tears and just, am I a bad mom? What am I doing? And then you just see all the activities that this infant. Like, how are they learning? How are they doing things? But you see these things, and you see pictures of her with 3 little friends, and she still has 2 of the friends from her infant class.
Yeah.
And she just turned 10.
Yeah.
So
but the guilt's got to be also coming from, it's got to be, so many emotions that are going, right? It's an emotions of that should be me doing that with my baby.
Exactly.
But I'm also so happy that I found somebody that would do that with my baby. So, you guys just have to be Yeah, I say you guys because I mean guys are like totally different. I remember, when I used to drop off Camden and my children at school, Dawn was always like, "So how was drop off?" I'm
You're
like,
"Fine."
I'm like, "I don't know. I dropped off." She's like, "Well, like how were they?" I don't know, honey. I opened the door. They went in. She's like, "Oh my God!" Like I'm just the way men and women look at. I guess just maybe even raising their children, especially dropping them off to preschool.
Yeah.
I don't know if men have guilt around this.
I'm not. I haven't experienced that yet. My husband doesn't seem to really feel guilty about that because he knows. Hey, what we're doing for them,
Yeah.
right? We're working our hardworking jobs to do this for them, to provide for them. But I think as the children got older, it was much easier for me because I was able to say, instead of saying how was your day or what did you learn, I say what made you smile today, and they would go into some story about one of the teachers or one of their friends. So when they're happy, then that guilt kind of goes away.
Yeah.
But it's so real. It's something that you just have to kind of acknowledge and move on and say, they're happy, and as long as they're thriving and they're happy, then then it's okay.
And that you made the right choice.
Yes, to
right?
have people that care about them. And it wasn't just her teacher. It was I walked through the door and all of the teachers knew who she was, and they all called her their little sparkly-eyed Kylie. Like she was sparkly-eyed Kylie. So it was something that it was a community. So I felt like, okay, like people that understood what I was going through. There were a lot of other moms that understood what I was going through.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
That others, and especially the teachers, knew what you were going through. So they were very sensitive of a first-time mom and the guilt feelings that all moms have.
And I personally am taking a really valuable lesson from this. I'm going to send my husband.
What do you mean?
When I drop off for the first time.
Oh,
From your experience and Lisa's.
So you don't have to go through those emotions?
I won't have to, no.
You will still go through the emotions, whether or not you are actually present or not.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I will, but I think it makes me think of more than just the guilt of dropping off, but also the sacrifice in general of having kids, because I don't yet, and people in their 20s before, however old they are, before they're thinking about having kids or are thinking about more sacrifices and guilt than just that first time dropping off, but also the first time you turn down a dinner date with friends, or the first time you go home instead of going to the happy hour with your staff. And so how long is that process, kind of? How long does it take, or was it immediate? Was it my kids come first and this is how it is? Because I kind of experienced it with my dog, but I know it's really different.
The minute that baby is in your arms, it's not about you anymore. I mean, it kind of turns off all that egocentric thinking of your life and what you have, and I feel like a sacrifice is more of you don't want to give it up, and to me it was like
Didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Came first.
Did not matter.
I was a slow learner. It took me about a week. I mean, Dawn and I had this routine. Like every night before we had kids, I'd go after work. I'd go upstairs. I'd take a nice bubble bath. I'd get into bed with my book, and I'd start to read. And then she would come in later, and that was our night, right? I remember, we just had Olin. She's downstairs feeding him. My same routine, get upstairs, take my little bubble bath, I'm in the bed, and I'm sitting there, and I forget what book I was reading, but the first page talked about, and some of you might know the book just from the first page, it said, "What if it's not about you?" And I shut the book.
You slapped that book shut,
I
right?
shut that book, and I went downstairs, and that second I became a dad, and have never looked back. I still take my bubble baths and read a lot now, but that came much, much later.
Absolutely. It definitely is one. And I am extremely lucky because my husband he had never even held a baby prior to our first daughter. I mean, never even held a baby. And it was almost like you just saw this aura around him change. I mean, he immediately became a dad.
But now that you say that, I wonder how common that is, right? Like how many guys, how old were you guys when you had your first baby?
We were 25.
Right. So how many 25-year-old men, have held babies before? I mean, that's pretty common.
But I did find out quite some time later that when his mom would ask him, what do you want to be when you grow up? He would say a daddy.
Oh,
so I thought that is
So
adorable.
cool.
That is sweet.
So here at Celebrate, you have a pretty big position. I mean, you work a lot of hours, a lot of responsibilities. How do you and your husband, balance those home duties?
It comes pretty naturally to us. We were, I've known him for over 20 years. And so we were friends, you know, in high school and things like that. So we kind of we balance each other out really
So
well.
you were watching him from afar?
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
was seeing how he was acting. Yeah, I knew. I knew
You
what I was
watch us
getting.
before you
That's
go,
like pre-Instagram stalking.
yeah.
Absolutely. It was a lot harder. It was a lot harder before Instagram.
social media.
Yeah, it was a heck of a lot harder.
Couldn't just swipe right.
Absolutely.
So you were watching.
I was watching.
You were planning.
And, you know, we balance each other really well, but it's not, we don't even have to at this point, like, communicate about it. It's kind of, if I'm emptying the dishwasher, he's taking out the trash. And it's just this, we got this as a team. And if one of us is feeling like, hey, I need a minute, I need to just walk away, then we give each other that space. So it's something I know not everybody has that. I consider myself really lucky. But we've really been able to balance it, and it kind of just came very naturally. Yeah, that's good stuff.
You're good. You're a good coach.
We use some conscious discipline with each other, right? You know, which would you prefer, to mow the lawn or wash the dishes, type of thing.
Yeah. Being head of HR, you know how to coach and develop.
Those are also not fun things, though. You're talking about chores. What kinds of things do you guys do together to recharge, though? Like, how do you get home from work? And, well, honestly, probably in the mom world, is this even a thing?
Yeah, you know, it is. And so I have about a 50-minute commute, and I can choose to be like bummed about that commute.
Yeah.
Or I can choose
Party
to
with
say
Tupac.
Yeah.
party with Tupac. But it's I recharge during that time. So I've kind of made my car my oasis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have the air freshener that smells good. Even with 3 kids, I make sure the car is clean, so I'm not feeling like I'm driving like a junkyard. And just making sure that, how am I walking through the door? Are my kids seeing me walk through the door completely just tired and anxious and not happy? Or are they seeing me like, hey, mom enjoys work and mom enjoys home? So kind of coming in with your best self. Sometimes that means listening to not Tupac. That means listening sometimes to just like some relaxation music. Yeah. Something just to calm me down.
But that's just the way you shut it off.
It's just how
That's
I
awesome.
shut it off. But then recharging, you know, with your spouse or with your husband, whoever, I have, you know, something like last week, called my mom up. Can you meet me at the house? I want to just do a surprise for her.
Yeah, I remember. It was
And
cool.
we went to the movies. And we went to dinner and to his favorite restaurant. And the kids were more excited that we were. They're like, Daddy didn't know that you were coming.
Oh, that's
home.
so
And
cool.
That's cute.
The kids were more excited than
that's
he
cool.
was.
I love
think.
that. That's such
It
an
was
easy
really
surprise.
I know Lisa said that you told me that you were, you know, you said, I'm sneaking out early today. I'm going to go and take my husband on a date. So what was like, I mean, that's so cool, right? I mean, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
What was like his... what was
He
his-
had a look of terror on his face because he was like, "Why are you?
We're leaving the children?
The kid. No, because when I walked in, the kids screamed, "Mommy's home! What are you?" And the kid said, "What are you doing home early?" And he comes out of the office and I was like, "What's wrong? Why are you home?"
Right.
And I was like, "We're going on a date."
Oh, that's so cool.
And
Oh,
he
so
was like-
you beat him and you don't usually.
Well, so he works from home.
Okay.
That's one of the ways that we are very lucky because he actually works out of the house. So he was already home and I just came in and just seeing that look of like, why are you home early? What happened?
Yeah. Yeah. So after you told him, hey, I'm taking you out on a date, what like that's
He was so confused. He kind of just didn't know how to act, and the kids kept on telling me, you know, what's going on? Where are you taking them? And I was like, no, you will totally ruin that
Oh, that's
surprise.
cool.
So he didn't know until we pulled into the parking lot where we were going.
Did he willingly go? I mean,
Yeah,
was
he
he like,
willingly.
okay,
Yeah, he
honey,
trusted
I'm
me.
in?
He said, we got in the car. He said, should I have brought a bag?
Oh, that's cool.
What do you think he was going away for a weekend trip?
Right.
You're pushing it, bud.
Maybe next time. We'll see how this
Well,
goes.
you got to read that, right? He's asking for that
Exactly.
little
Exactly.
backpack getaway.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. So what about just like time off? I know you, I know, because again, I know you personally, so I know you really, you know, feel guilty sometimes if you ask for time off, which I'm always like, you know, Lisa, go ahead and spend time. Like, what, tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I am one of those people that is 100% at home, 100% at work. And so when you're not at work and you're supposed to be, that's, you know, that's out of the routine, that's out of the habit. So there is that feeling of guilt. And, you know, what I've appreciated about being here and having you, you know, as the owner is that you will kind of say those words to make it okay.
Yeah.
Like, sure, go ahead, no problem. And what I continue to try to remind myself is like, okay, it's like an ATM, right? You put in enough deposits that when you have to make a withdrawal,
so easy.
you're not in the negative.
Yep.
You know, you still have that they still know you're dedicated. They still know you're loyal. So if you have to take off to take the kids to the doctor's office or something like that,
Yeah.
that it's okay. But that's why you have to be 100% present at home, 100% present at work.
Yep, 100%. So what would you tell our list? Like, if we were to kind of wrap this up a little bit, like in the whole balance, motherhood, work-life balance, what would you?
Get rid of the preconceived notions about what you're supposed to be, as a mom. Are your kids happy? Do they know they're loved? Whether you are having cereal as a picnic dinner on the floor or you have a full home-cooked meal, give yourself a little bit of grace. Let yourself have those nights where not everything is going to go smoothly, and plan ahead, make it easier on yourself.
Yeah.
I spend my Sundays planning out my week professionally and personally. What do I have going on? And I talk to Craig about that. Here's what support I'm going to need this week.
Wow.
And here's how we need to support each other. And you don't go into the week with that anxiety because you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest thing is just get rid of the preconceived notions.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of following along those lines too, though, how do you suggest to new moms to kind of get away from that idea of being that Pinterest perfect Instagram mom? Because that's the world these days, and people see these perfect headbands with matching outfits and these beautiful cooked dinners, but the reality for people with families that are working families that have to put their kids in daycares like Celebrate in school and all these other sports that our kids play, and how do you kind of give advice to the new mom who's looking at these picture perfect lives?
It is hard to give advice about that, because that is hard. In the social media world, everyone's highlight reel is on social media. Most people don't post the picture where they're looking a hot mess
Right.
and 1,000 things are going wrong. They're posting the picture of the big smiles and the perfect looking house and everything's great. And just remembering, like, that's not reality. Those people have bad days too.
Yeah.
And that it's bad moments, bad minutes, not a bad day or bad life. So I cannot tell you how many Pinterest fails I personally have had. I am not the Pinterest mom. So again, just trying to remember that that's not reality. That's not real life all the time, and that it's okay. It's okay and you can try the Pinterest stuff, and when you have the fail, post that. It's funny, and it'll
or
get
at
some
least
shares.
find a friend or someone that has a life similar to yours. I don't
Exactly.
have children, but I do that in my everyday life, whether it's with a joke with my husband or something I tried to cook or a craft I tried to make. I think it's funny when you can send those terrible looking selfies of your disheveled life to your friends, even if it's not being posted. It is real life, and that's why you have people who are as close to you as they are.
It's important to have a squad of people around you, whether it's, girlfriends, neighbors, just people that are living the same type of life as you and share the same type of concerns and issues and happiness and that you can communicate and collaborate with.
That's a great point. Well, Lise, you're an amazing, rock star here at Celebrate. I'm so glad we had a chance to interview you today, because now not only do I know your secrets and everybody else knows the secrets of white work-life balance, but also I always knew you were a super mom.
Oh,
and now after today, I know how you do it. So we know all your secrets. So we appreciate your time this morning on talking about work-life balance for moms.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today on Parenting and Teaching with Richie Huffman.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, childhood only comes this way but once.
For more information, head on over to richiehuffman.com.
I'm Richie.
And I'm Allie.
And we look forward to seeing you again on another podcast.